Hey guys, how are you? I am going to be hopping on here a couple times a week now with just a short tip and trick each and possibly every day. Don't quote me on that. My name is Raven Woods, and I am Autism Mama Rocks, the IEP, and the CEO and founder. And I help parents get rid of the overwhelm and the crazy feelings of everything they go through when dealing with the IEP. My job is to help you navigate the system and really claim your stake in this process and as a team member and really rock it and walk into that IEP meeting as the CEO, which is who you are because you are the only person who knows your child best and the only person that can absolutely advocate for your child better than anybody else. So with that said, I want to talk about, hey, Amy, with that said, I want to talk about, actually, I was just talking to Amy and it kind of, just was eating at me because a lot of you have actually talked to me about one-on-ones and how to get a one-on-one for your child or how to keep a one-on-one for your child. So let's just start with how to get a one-on-one for your child. It's almost the same way as keeping one. It's just a different argument. So to get a little bit of a background on if you need a one-on-one, how to obtain a one-on-one, all those types of things, you really have to look at the impact of disability on your child. So what does that mean? What that means is if your child has a behavior or has something that is affecting their education, and they possibly could be an interruption to the classroom, or they could be it could be a safety issue for themselves or others. It could be a focus issue, which is also a behavior issue. Whatever the issue is, you have to sit and write down what they are. So if you want a one-on-one, you want to ask yourself, why do I want a one-on-one? How is it going to help my child? In your mind, you want to say, well, how's it best going to help my child? In the school system's mind, you're really answering the question of how is it needed for my child? So you want to ask yourself those questions. And then you want to say, all right, well, I want a one-on-one because of this, this, and this. So how am I going to argue that with the school system? So I don't like to talk about other people's children, which I was just telling Amy. So I always go off my child. So for example, when she first started and received a one-on-one, the reason why she initially started receiving a one-on-one was because of behavior issues. Okay, she was a runner, and that was also a safety issue. So it was a behavior that she was actually doing, but it was also a safety issue. So it wasn't much of an argument, and it's not going to be much of an argument for you if it's a safety issue. So for example, if you were to argue for a one-on-one and your child is a runner, or there is some sort of safety issue, that could be they do self-inflicting behaviors to themselves, they're hitting themselves or the desk or throwing things, whatever the behavior is that could be harmful, you use that. So as you're writing things down, always write things down because it helps you really navigate what's going on in your head. And as parents, we have so many things going on in our heads that writing it down is crucial. Please help. I have an IEP meeting Thursday, but I feel I need more help. The school is letting my baby down. I hear you. Okay, give me a second, okay? So let's finish talking about one-on-ones. So if you have a behavior issue, and that can be any behavior, like I said, not just self-inflicting, it could be behaviors that affect other children. So your argument then is to go to the school system, you're sitting down in the meeting, and you're saying, look, I really need to have a one-on-one for my child, and the reason is this. Many times you have told me that he's thrown desks, that he's hit himself, that he's run out of the classroom. So start naming the behaviors that the school system more than likely is complaining to you about. He's doing this, or he's doing this, or she's doing that, right? So start using that. If you go to my educational vault at Autism Mama Rocks the IEP, I have a daily communication sheet. This daily communication sheet literally goes through every part of a child's special needs journey day. And the teachers are able to check off different things. They're able to answer different things. You are able to download different areas. You're able to fill in that your child goes to science, your child goes to math, whatever. And then you hand it to the school and they have to fill it out throughout the day and give it back to you. This is building your case, okay? Because on this sheet, which has everything, guys, it's awesome. I use it for my child. And literally on this sheet, I'm able to build the case. All right. So it could come home and it could say, Skylar, hit herself today. All right. Well, she already has a one-on-one, but that's just another document that I'm putting in my file that is showing that why she needs a one-on-one. Okay. So if you're building a case to go to an IEP meeting, and they're saying, oh, he threw a desk today, or oh, he hit himself today, or oh, he can't sit still in his seat and he's disrupting the classroom, or whatever the case may be. Those are all behaviors that affect him or the classroom, and you're then able to justify your reasoning to get a one-on-one, because not only is it affecting them, but it's affecting the teacher, the classroom, etc. So you always want to think about your reasoning behind it, and you want to make it where you're also working with the school. Does that make sense? So you're saying, hey, I want a one-on-one, and it's not just I want, but I need this for my son or daughter because it's most appropriate. And these are the reasons why. And you're going to name those things I just named. But the key thing too is to also state, and I understand that these behaviors also affect you as the teacher and affect the other children. And I hate that my child is disrupting that way. And so a one-on-one would be a great person to have in play and on the team so that my child's needs are met and his education is appropriately met as well. So if that behavior affects the education, which any behavior does, guys, any behavior. So if your child's throwing desks, or your child is, having self-inflicting behaviors or hurting other children, or, having episodes of sensory issues in class and has to be taken out of the classroom because they need decompressed from sensory-based issues of too much is going on at one time. So many of our kids have that. They need that time, that space, that area that they can go and feel safe. That's a huge reason to get a one-on-one, or a one-on-one is needed. The teacher can't walk with your child if they're in a general ed classroom. The teacher can't just say, hey kids, see you later, I'm going to the sensory room, right? So you need a one-on-one to be able to remove your child from the classroom, to take them to the sensory room, help them decompress, and then as they get back together and get things ready, then they're able to go back to the class and learn again. But they have that one-on-one as that extra support. That's what they're supposed to be there for. A one-on-one is for extra support, is for safety, and someone who's going to help your child benefit in the classroom in the least restrictive environment, and to continue learning and having academic success. Does that make sense? So I'm sorry about that noise. My daughter's getting in the shower, which I'm so proud of. She's doing it on her own now. So Amy says, the statement I get is the one-on-one is preventing him to be able to do it on his own. Okay. He is in kindergarten, 5 years old, with autism. He is in a class with behaviors he is learning from and not a general. Okay. That's a good one to talk about. I'm not going to talk about that right now, which is a good topic to write down. So as you know, I do topics every Thursday. Mimicking behaviors in classrooms that are more restrictive is a big issue. So we'll definitely talk about that, Amy. The one-on-one should not prevent them, okay? So my daughter's one-on-one, and I'm very specific with this, and this is where, Amy, right, we talked about this today in our call. Basically, when you have a one-on-one, you never want them restricting your child. The whole goal of a one-on-one is to have safety and to help with redirection. and to assist with schoolwork, okay? So a one-on-one should never teach your child, ever. They're not a highly qualified teacher. They should not teach your child at all. They can assist them in reading, or they can assist them with what the teacher already taught with filling out work and whatnot, but they're not to do the work for them. They're not to teach them, and they're not to assist in that way in any shape or form, okay? So in my daughter's IEP, I'm extremely specific, and that's what I'm going to teach you guys, and I'm going to continue to repeat myself because it's so important. Everything, every little word that you can possibly think of, down to the nitty-gritty, you need to have in your IEP, okay? So that can be, for example, a goal. If you have a goal for your child in, the IEP, and it says they're going to learn single-digit multiplication problems, okay, when? That date needs to be put in there. So by December 30th, 2019, my child is going to master all single-digit multiplication. Okay, to what extent is the next question, okay? So they could say it's mastered 3 out of 4 times. I try to stay away from that, okay? That's a huge thing that the school system does. Oh, my child's going to master it off 3 out of 4 different data collections. No, okay? 3 out of 4 data collections from who? Who's taking the data? The same person where it becomes memorization for your child? They didn't learn anything. They're memorizing it, and it's something that they're doing repetitively, so they're remembering how to do it based off of memory. So if somebody, anybody, you, me, your child, is mastering something, they can master it over a wide variety of settings. So say that, be specific with that. What do you want them to learn it from? How do you want them to master it? So I say, I think mine says a wide variety of settings with more than a handful of people or something like that. I don't have my IEP in front of me, but I make sure that it's not 3 people on 3 different testing settings, and it just makes it too compact. And so you're like, okay, so your child mastered single-digit multiplication with just me on 3 different occasions. That's not really mastering it. Do you know what I mean? So you need to make sure you're meticulous with what is in that IEP. Meticulous with the wording. Wording is everything. It's the same thing with any other contract that you sign in today's world and society. If your handwriting is on that paper, you're saying, yes, I fully agree to this and understand it 100%. And I say yes to you implementing that as far as the IEP. So you need to make sure that all that wording is crucial, okay, and is exactly how you want it to be said. And so that's why you need to make sure that you take your documents home and your contracts home and you read them. I read mine so many times you wouldn't even believe. And then I take different highlighters and I highlight stuff and I read it again and again, and I make sure that that wording is exactly how I want it to be said. And even in the beginning, guys, I even would take it to other people and say, when you read this, what do you think? What does it make you, what do you think when you read this? And I'll ask other people, because then you're getting different input as to how they're digesting what's in that IEP, because you're just asking them to read a sentence or whatever. And you're able to then get input as to how other people are digesting what it's saying, okay? So never be afraid to get other people's input, all right? That could be me, that could be another advocate, that could be your mom, however you want to do it. Just start asking people what they think of different things that may not be clicking for you, okay? And a lot of things in the IEP just don't click because it's so confusing, all right? So let's get back to one-on-ones. So if you do have a one-on-one and say they want to get rid of that one-on-one, or they want to fade that one-on-one out, or they're just not keen on you keeping that one-on-one. Why? Because it's an extra body to pay for. You know, there's other children that may need that one-on-one more than your child, in their opinion. And So you have to fight. You have to fight and give you as to why that's okay that other children need a one-on-one. They are more than, what's the word? They basically, all children should have a one-on-one if it's needed, is basically what I'm trying to say. So, but that doesn't mean that your child shouldn't have that one-on-one. Does that make sense? So I didn't want to say like other children don't need it. Other children do need it, but we can't divert our thought process just because other children need certain things, okay? We have to think about our children and our situation and fight for that, okay? So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying other children don't matter. I'm just saying that we have to focus on our kids, and if each of us do that, then we're spreading all the love, okay? We're all learning from each other, and we're able to keep it going, and keeping the information flowing to many different people, and as you learn from me, teach others, duplicate it, because people and moms and parents and caregivers really need to get more confident in fighting for these things. So I'm going to read some of these, and then I'm going to get back to the one-on-one. Amy says, general ed class, that's what I'm also wanting. The statement, okay. I'm also wanting in general. Yeah, you should have a one-on-one in a general education class. It's really more so when you need a one-on-one, but you also need I have a one-on-one all day, every day, all day. And it's because of safety, and it's also because of redirection. So if your child is not learning, let's go back to if you already have a one-on-one, all right? So if you have a one-on-one now, and they want to fade it, or they want to get rid of it, and they say, oh, your child just doesn't need a one-on-one anymore. Okay, why does my child not need a one-on-one anymore? Have them answer that question. Then hear what they have to say. Now, if you, the parent, know, okay, well, my son is still hitting himself. My son is still getting out of his seat and then getting notes from the teacher that he's disruptive and that he's acting out in class and that he's talking when he's not supposed to be talking, and he's not doing his work, okay? So those are reasons for a one-on-one. Why? Because of redirection, because of focus. He's not learning if he's not focused. I'm using he, but there's she's. So if your child's not focused, your child's not doing the work, and your child is not, fully participating, then they're not having academic success. So that's a reason for a one-on-one, to help and assist that child in redirection and able to focus on the teacher, just by saying to a child, sometimes just laying your hand on their forearm and saying, come on, Johnny, it's time to focus, listen to the teacher. And just that simple redirection for some children is enough. Some children need to they need to get up from their seat. They need to walk around. They need to maybe go out into the hallway. They need to, go to the bathroom and kind of get their mind back in check and then come back to the classroom. That's also redirection. So redirection isn't always, hey, let's listen to the teacher. Sometimes it's, hey, let's go take a walk. Sometimes it's, let's go to the bathroom real quick and come back and refocus. Sometimes it's, hey, let's go to the sensory room and calm down and then come back and get back to work. So that's what's called redirection. Okay, so behavior is different. So redirection is also from behavior, but more behaviors and safety issues are like throwing a desk or hitting themselves or, throwing a pencil or, those types of behaviors. So you really want to focus on what the reason you want a one-on-one for, and then create your case. Okay, so you're an attorney for your child. All right, you're writing down everything that your child is doing, things that you've gotten. If you haven't gotten my daily communication sheet, get that, because it goes through everything for you to give to your teachers and special education teachers literally tomorrow. And you can say, hey, I want you to fill this out daily. And if you have a child who has special needs with an IEP, they have to do a daily communication sheet, believe it or not. They have to be communicating with you daily. And this sheet, I'm telling you, it has everything in it. Tell them, Amy. But it's awesome, okay? And I love it because it literally has glasses on it as well. Like my daughter wears glasses. So it literally has a checkbox of she came to school with glasses and a checkbox of she went home with glasses, you know, to make sure you have everything in that daily communication sheet so that you're constantly collecting. That's your data that you're putting in your notebook, and you're being able to read it every day of what your child did, who saw them, did he go to reading, did he go to language arts, did he go to science, and each person has to sign off on it, okay, of how your child did. And I do not let the one-on-one fill out anything on the daily communication sheet. It is all the special education teacher, the general education teacher, and her ABA therapist. So those are the only people I allow to fill it out. And then her specialists, reading, speech, occupational therapy, and that sort of thing. So, all right, let me go through some questions. I let them know about data at the last IEP, good, because most of theirs were below average, okay. Okay, good. That's good, Amy. You should make them correct anything that they're incorrect on. That's awesome. You're welcome, Elva. In my situation, this is first year, and they're actually trying to work with my child. That's good. In my child's IEP, showed them 2 grades level lower. Okay. How do you implement my doctor's IEP is more accurate? What do you mean your doctor's IEP, Loggy? Your doctor doesn't write an IEP. I'm confused with that. So if you want to explain that, then I can help you. Amy, yes, the school system gets funding, and they never can deny a child any type of service if they qualify for it. So if they need it, the school system has to provide for it. It's not about, oh, we don't have the money. They can't say that. So Kayla says, yes, all of that. I'm listening. Yes, it makes sense. Good. I'm glad. How can you see a sample communication? I don't have a sample communication sheet. Let me talk to my assistant and see if she can take the communication sheet and kind of do a sample thingy. I don't know. But I mean, basically, once you see it, you have it, you know. I want to say it's only $2.97, $1.97, something like that. But once you literally can write in it and you can download it and give it to your school tomorrow. And all you got to do is put in an email saying, I've attached a daily communication sheet that I would like filled out daily. I feel like this is extensive enough to where you can fill it out and everything is in detail. I appreciate your time and attention to this matter. Then what you also could do is say, I'd like this daily communication sheet also put into the IEP as an amendment that this will be filled out daily. So you don't always have to go into an IEP meeting to have something added to your IEP. You actually can have what's called an amendment. And they basically make the change, they send you over the change, you okay it, and it's done, and it's put into the IEP. You sign the new IEP with the new information, done. So obviously you do have to have a decent relationship with the school system or know a little bit about how to go about doing an amendment. But to be honest, here's the funny thing is sometimes the schools don't even know that they can do it. I mean, they're ignorant sometimes when it comes to that. But yeah, it's a simple thing. It's actually in the laws and regulations of IDEA that an amendment can happen anytime as long as it's in agreement between the school system and you. You can put an amendment on any IEP and put anything. You can make any change you want and not even have to be there if they're willing to do that. So the communication log I need, yeah, go to the vault and grab it. Let's see. Well, the clinic school does IEPs. Is it like a special needs school and they create their own IEPs? Is that what you're saying? I'm just asking. I'm not questioning that they're doing it. I'm just confused at because doctors don't write IEPs, Loggy. So I'm just trying to understand what you mean. Okay. Still having trouble finding it. All right. I will post the link to the to the vault after I get off this call. Okay, guys, so look for it. Rachel Moore right now, he's in daycare. Okay, so here's the deal too, guys. Going back to one-on-ones. Fight for a one-on-one. I honestly think most children with special needs, maybe not high functioning, but I think most children really have more of their needs met with a one-on-one. Because think about that help and assistance that they're getting, you know, whether that be redirection or behavior. That redirection and help with behavior is huge, because our goal as parents is to have them have academic success and to learn and to grow and to be able to be functioning adults and to expand themselves and let their wings fly, right? Well, to do that, they have to have that highly qualified, extensively trained teachers who are educating them and doing everything in their power to help them do that, grow, spread their wings, be functional adults later on in life, etc., which is law. The school system has to create an environment in which your child can grow and become a functional person in daily life as an adult. They have to be thinking future. Okay, they cannot just be thinking here and now. And they also have to have high expectations for our children. They cannot have low expectations. They actually have to have the same expectations for our kids as they do a typical child. So I want you guys to think about if your child needs a one-on-one. I want you to think about if this would benefit them. And if you feel that your child could benefit from a one-on-one, write it down. And the next, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to be putting up an agenda for you guys to download. And that agenda is really cool because it goes through your thought process. I'm big on this because we get so overwhelmed with everything out there in reference to IEPs that we lose track of honestly what's important. You know, have you guys ever heard the kind of wording where it says work harder, work smarter, not harder? So the work harder is doing all that research, is going through everything in reference to our child and looking up every therapy and every different possible item that we can get for our children, versus really focusing on what's totally needed and appropriate right here at this moment, because in 6 months it may be different. All right. So you really want to focus and get your brain and mindset in the right place so that you're not all over the place. All right, because you're upset, you're frustrated, you're angry, you're ready to scream because the school system is not hearing you and they're not helping you in any way. Sometimes it's almost like hitting a brick wall. And you know, if some of you have school systems that work with you in an amazing way, that's awesome. Awesome. But a lot of us have hit that brick wall and we're just ready to lose our minds, right? So give me a thumbs up if you guys feel that way, okay? So we really have to take a moment and think, okay? So stop with all the stuff that goes in our heads. You know, in today's world, you know, we have so much coming in. And you know what? Think about it as our kids with autism or kids with sensory issues or kids with ADHD, that's how they feel. Probably just like you, is all this stuff is coming at them and they're just so overwhelmed. And that's why they have sensory issues. And that's why they have breakdowns and mental breakdowns as far as they just have a fit and, you know, it's just a bad day, or you know what I mean? So I know when my daughter has had, been too much on her for that day, that she will have a screaming mental breakdown. Have your kids had that? And I'm ready to lose my mind because she's losing her mind and it doesn't work very well, you know, but it happens. However, what I don't want is for you guys to go through that on your own. We deal with it with our kids as it is. So for you all, you need to decompress and you need to focus on what is important. And write in your agenda that I'm going to give you guys. Write what's important to you. What are the top 3 things you want to focus on right now? Don't think about the 15 things you want for your child in the IEP. Think about 3. What are the 3 most important things? Is it a one-on-one? Is it that you want them in speech? Is it that you want them in dance therapy or music therapy or occupational therapy? Whatever it is, you need to write that down. And then what you want to do is, okay, let's just say it's a one-on-one, okay? Because that's what we're talking about pretty much today. You want to ask yourself questions. Okay, why do I want a one-on-one? What's the behavior that is the number one reason I want a one-on-one? What's the second behavior that is making me want a one-on-one? Is there redirection issues? If my child didn't have a one-on-one, what would happen? Is the need pretty severe that if my child did not have a one-on-one, the academics would, they'd regress? Would my child improve in academic success without a one-on-one? So you want to ask yourself all these questions and start thinking about it in a way where you take, the one-on-one's kind of the circle, and then you're taking it and making a sum and saying, okay, my daughter needs a one-on-one because of this and because of this and because of this. And if my child didn't have a one-on-one, then what's going to happen? What is the outcome if my child did not have a one-on-one? So what you're doing is you're creating your own argument and your own case. And then that's how you go and you present it. Okay, so I'm going to walk you guys through that. If you guys have been to my vault, you all know that I'm creating a course for all of you where I walk you step by step through the whole IEP process. But what I want you to focus on here is just your top 3 concerns for your child. What do you want so bad for your child that without it, they're not going to have academic success? And those are the 3 things you need to focus on and get into that IEP before you fight for anything else, okay? Because if you want to work smarter and not harder, you focus on the most important things and then continuously add. You're not going to just have a one and done IEP. If you want to, you can go and have an IEP meeting every 30 days if you want. Did you know that? Give me a thumbs up if you knew that. You can literally go into an IEP meeting today and then come home and write an email, and they have to meet with you 30 days later because you requested another IEP. So know that. So if you focus on your top 3 things, and if that's a one-on-one, put that in your top 3 things, then once you accomplish that, then you move forward with the next IEP. Okay, these are the next things, the next 3 things that I need to get, Because once something's in your IEP, they cannot just take it out, okay? Unless your kid just automatically no longer has a disability, they cannot just withdraw something from an IEP without your permission. So that's the key thing about an IEP, is once it's in there, it's in there. So you want to really focus on that. And that's why wording's important. That's why how things are written out is important and what is said. I'll just give you an example of something that I recently, my daughter is 14. And so recently I did a lot of amendments on her IEP. I went in and argued several things for her IEP. And I even, after I went into the IEP and argued things, I then needed to amend things to add more. Because I looked at the goals again and I was like, no, I need to add more. And so I added more. But you need to focus on wording. And here's a reason why. So my daughter has a one-on-one. She's 14. She has had her monthly cycle since she was 12. And so I needed to dissect, due to incidences, in her IEP exactly what the one-on-one is supposed to do when she's on her monthly. I had to literally ABC it, 1, 2, 3 it. She does this, then she does this, then she does this. That's how important wording is in the IEP. Now, let me tell you something. If that is not then implemented, not just the one-on-one, but the teacher or whoever is with her has to then implement the IEP in that step-by-step manner. If they don't, they're non-compliant. So that's why wording is so important in your IEP, okay? So make sure that if you're, like IEPs that I've looked over, I would just say in the past 2 weeks, there's so many things that I caught that should not have been in there. Or, okay, I need you to change this. Make sure you get this changed. There's things that I was helping people change and take out of the IEP or put in to the IEP because that wording is so important. So if you have any questions about wording or what should or shouldn't be in an IEP, it really has to do with the situation. So it can't be, just a generalized thing. It has to be a situation, like if it is in reference to speech therapy, you want things dissected as to what is going to, how is that going to pan out? Does your child go 30 minutes 2 times a week? Do they go an hour 3 times a week? Whatever it is, that needs to be specified and the time frame needs to be there. And then you need to have that daily communication sheet so you have it written out. Okay, my child went to speech Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like they're supposed to, from 2 to 3 or 2 to 2:30, and that speech therapist wrote out what they did, okay? So then you have documentation that your child went to speech. You have documentation as to what happened in speech. And then you also know if the speech therapist is away because they're sick or whatnot, and they have to make that session up. So it creates a lot for you guys when you have that communication sheet, because then you're aware of all these things that you probably aren't aware of all the time. You probably don't call the school and say, hey, did my child go to speech today? Or hey, did my child go to OT today? Don't you guys wonder if that happened and if that was implemented? I know I used to wonder. And so it's important to have, a daily sheet that comes home. Okay, my child went to reading today. My child did this today. And make sure that those things are written out and detailed. Okay. All right, I have more questions. Yes, I can look over your child's IEP. Personal message me, Elba, and we'll set up a time, or you can just go to book a discovery call and we can set up a discovery call, okay? I'm glad you love this, Amy. Thanks for sharing, Nancy. All right, Christy, thank you. Is Faye Ann says, is there a possibility to get this in current 12 to 1-to-1? My child needs it. What does that mean? 12 to 1-to-1. What does that mean? I joined late, but when you say one-on-one, are you talking about a pair? Yes. So a one-on-one is a paraeducator, or sometimes they're called aides. It's the same thing. So there's different terms for it, but yeah, one-on-one, paraeducator, assistant, aide, yeah, all the same thing. And they only have, typically 2 purposes. One is for redirection and one is for behavior. I was early on in my IEP career, and I did not know that the paraeducator, which is what it's called actually in our area, was teaching my kid. And I was floored when I found this out. And this was not okay. And so the fact that this was just now told to me, this was years and years ago. Here, I'll give it to you, Sky. Okay. And the fact that Dad can put the stuff on your face, but I'll give you your vitamins. All right. All right. All right. So basically, you need to make sure, sorry, I'm giving Sky her vitamins. Here you go. Who's talking to you? Well, I'm talking to a bunch of people about the IEP. Is that cool? Yeah. All right. So find out if your paraeducator is, teaching your child, because they're actually not allowed to by law. And a lot of schools will actually say, oh no, they're allowed, they're just helping the teacher out. They're allowed to assist your child in their schoolwork, just like you would assist your child in helping them with their schoolwork when they come home, but they're not allowed to be educating your child, you know? So they're allowed to help them, but they cannot be educating them. Like in years ago, I found out that this paraeducator was teaching my child math. And, you know, with many of our kids being behind, there was no way that was okay with me. And so if you feel the same, you know, many of you may think that's okay, and that's fine. That's up to you. But I don't agree with that for my child. And so I was very adamant about making that change immediately. And the school system was good with that. But they did think that they could argue the fact that, oh, well, you know, they're watching the teacher and then they're implementing, you know, the rest of the schoolwork. No, they're not. The teacher's going to work with my child. And a lot of special education teachers are overworked and have actually too many children in their classroom, and they're not spreading them out and having more teachers. And so this special education teacher, in general, just anybody's, are actually overwhelmed because they have so much going on. And so who's suffering? Our kids. Well, guess what? That's not our problem, you know? And I don't know if you think anything like me, but I'm big on the fact that, you know, I'm sorry the school system doesn't have all the teachers that they need to have. I'm sorry that, you know, they may not have the funding that they should have been given. That's not my problem. The problem is on their end, and no matter what the funding is that they're given, and no matter what the situation is, my child has the right to have a needed and appropriate education. And I cannot worry myself as a parent on what the school system's issues are, politically, etc., because what's important to me is my child, and they have to abide by that. So that may sound harsh, but don't you agree? Give me a thumbs up if you agree that the school system needs to do what's needed and appropriate for our kids no matter what. Funding is not our problem. That's their problem, right? So we have to not let those excuses that the school systems will throw at us be our problem. We have enough issues of our own. We have lives. We have other children, and we can't worry ourselves with what the school issues have, yet still have to abide by the law and abide by what should be given and what's right for our kids. So that's just how I feel about it. I'm done ranting and raving. All right. So I'm going to hop off. Hopefully you guys got a good idea on the one-on-one, which is basically write down your 3 top reasons if you want a one-on-one. All right. And that can be sensory, that could be behavior, that could be focus and attention, redirection. All of those reasons are totally reasons that a child should be given a one-on-one. 100%. Especially if it is affecting their education, which all 3 of those do. So now what you have to do, after you've written that down, I'm just repeating myself so you guys can write this down, is then you have to create your argument. Okay, my child needs a one-on-one. My child needs a one-on-one because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And okay, so because my child needs this is what I'm going to argue. Okay, so that's what you say. And you always use wording, like I was telling Amy tonight in our call. You always want to use wording that throws things back at them. All right, but in a nice way. It's kind of like being a little bit sarcastic, but with a smile on your face. So here's an example. So you're talking to the school system and you're saying, you know, my child really needs a one-on-one, and we really need to talk about this need for my child because, in my opinion, as the parent, it's most appropriate for him. And let me tell you why, because I've been thinking about this, and I'm a little bit offended at the fact that you guys haven't told me that you think my child needs a one-on-one, especially because, I was looking at his goals and I was looking at, how behind he is. He's 3 years behind. And I'm confused at why the school system, why you guys didn't tell me he should have a one-on-one, because his behavior's inappropriate with him being so unfocused. He has some behavior issues as far as sensory, where he needs a sensory room. He's 3 years behind, and so his schooling is not where it needs to be. So you're starting to say, okay, here are my reasons. All right. And then you're saying something like, and I would hate for the school system to be responsible for my child to completely regress because they didn't provide what was needed and appropriate for him. So here's what I've thought. And so then you want to create your plan of action. Okay. So you don't just state bad, 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 you guys suck. You then want to come back and say, here's what I suggest. You're creating the solution to the problem for them, to where they don't have to think about anything. That's a win-win, right? So you're telling them, here's my issues. I can't believe you. Then you're kind of throwing back at them and saying, I can't believe you didn't tell me that my child needs a one-on-one. Kind of like making them think like, what do you mean we didn't tell you, but it's creating that sense of question mark, all right, versus opposition, all right? A lot of times the school systems are opposing you because they're on that defensive of, oh God, what's this parent going to ask for? Well, instead of putting them on that opposition kind of mindset, you're basically putting them in that question mark kind of mindset, where they're maybe thinking, well, why didn't we offer this? Because he is having behavior issues. How do you know that? Because you have a daily communication sheet, and you're going to bring all your daily communication sheets, and you're going to say, look, on February 1st, he did this. On October 1st, he did this. And you're going to show all these daily communication sheets of the teachers complaining that, he was disrespectful or he was disturbing the classroom. And, all these things that you guys have told me that, you're getting from the teachers and feedback. You need this daily communication sheet because that's your proof, and then just start taking documentation and focusing on your reasons and really focusing on that argument and getting it together. And if you need help, I'm here, and I'll help you kind of brainstorm and really create a case and a plan of action. That's what I do. I create plans of action based on things that you want. So you want something, I create a plan for you in a way that can be implemented by the school system, and I help you understand the opposition in which they're coming from and where that's going to come and fall into your plate. And you're going to then have to go back and say, okay, well, this is why. I understand what you're saying, but this is why. So you're always saying, I understand what you're saying, and you're empathizing with them. But then you're saying, but this is why this needs to happen. Does that make sense? So hopefully that makes sense, guys. Hopefully you guys got a little bit of insight and a good tip or trick tonight. I know I went way past I should have been. I like to talk, y'all. I love teaching this stuff. It's so fun. And I'm so passionate about it, as you probably can see. So I guess it's a good thing that I like what I do, right? You are super knowledgeable, and thank you. My IEP is on Thursday. Good luck. But I will make sure I implement everything I've heard tonight. Good. I'm glad. And if you need anything else, just message me and we can maybe set up a discovery call before your IEP. I'm more than willing to help you. I wrote notes, so thank you. You're so welcome. So hopefully I see you guys tomorrow night over on the group. We have our question and answer. So Tuesdays on the group, if you guys aren't a member yet of the group, definitely go and join Autism Mama Rocks the IEP group. And we do a live question and answer solely on the group on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully you guys join us 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And I will post below the vault just for those of you who have mentioned you couldn't find certain things. And I will talk to you soon. Have a good night.
Mom, I want a hug, please.